Join us today as we learn the expectations for proctoring Science Olympiad virtual tournaments. 2020 was a difficult year for Science Olympiad. Like everyone, we had to pivot to virtual tournaments, which brought many challenges, but also opened the door for a new type of tournament, the satellite tournament. While we agree in-person tournaments are the gold standard, satellite tournaments allow students to gather together with their teams, compete in events, and gives teams the opportunity to compete in more invitationals without the additional transportation costs. When we hosted our first virtual tournament, they were conducted at home with our expectations that students would be ethical and not go out and Google answers. Unfortunately, it was too easy for the students to be tempted by Google, and we discovered that many of the students' home computers were rife with programs that registered with our tournament platform as out of browser. We knew that if we were still to conduct virtual tournaments, we would have to ensure the integrity of the testing process. The board based our Proctor guidelines on those that have been used by academic decathlon for years. A proctor serves as a facilitator for the tournament. Proctors are not judges, and they do not award points or penalties to any competitor. Proctors are there to make sure the tournament runs smoothly, integrity is maintained, and to keep the lines of communication open. Proctors serve as impartial parties and without showing any preference or favoritism to any competitor. Proctors should administer exams in the most ethical and honest manner. Ethical testing ensures that test scores are not compromised, promotes a fair testing process, and avoids serious consequences that may stem from cheating. So, who should proctor? The proctor should be a neutral party, which rules out your Science Olympiad coach, parent of a Science Olympiad student, or student in a different division. Some suggestions: ask one of your teachers from your school, or possibly ask one of your school volunteers. The testing room should be a separate room from your team camp. Only students who are actively testing may be in the room. If the student does not have an event at that time, they should not be in the testing room. Also, the coach is not in the testing room. Students should sign in and sign out, and only approved testing materials are allowed in the room. The proctor is responsible for making sure the students sign in when they enter the testing room and sign out if they leave. If you don't know your students, you may want to check their ID against their sign in. In the testing room, cell phones should be off. They are not allowed as a resource in the competition. It is recommended that you have them put in the front of the room. For two events, Write It, Do It, and a few other events, students may need to use their phone to take a picture and upload it to the system. These events are experimental design and Write It, Do It. As the students sign in, ask students what they have brought to use for the event that they are testing for. You should have a list of what is allowed per event. For example, ornithology allows one field guide and a 2-inch binder filled with notes from any source per team, whereas solar system allows only 2 sheets of notes per team. The students should log in to the sciolympiad.org/website. Students can also only use one computer per person. So that's 2 computers per teams. They cannot have more than one computer running per student. The students are allowed to talk to their partner, but not to the other students in the testing room. As the students test, walk around and monitor the students. The students cannot have any other window, tab, application like such as Netflix, Spotify, Pandora open other than the testing window. The system will log it as out of browser and the students will be penalized. This goes for both of these students in an event. For example, one student is typing in the answers on their computer and the other student on the other computer is logged into the system, a testing window open, but has an additional tab open checking their email. The system records that they're out of browser. Do not have them open multiple tabs or browsers accessing the SciOlympiad website at the same time. Make sure the students know that nothing should be able to be popped up, whether it's an email notification, an alarm, or a calendar notification. If a student has a concern during an event, they need to chat to the event supervisor online so the event supervisor will know immediately. If the student has any issues, then note it in the Proctor report. For example, if the computers restart randomly or you forgot to give the students the experimental design form, note it on the Proctor report. When the testing is complete for the day, sign the Proctor form you were given by the coach. Have the coach sign the Proctor form and email the form and sign-in sheet to logistics@azsciolyscienceolympiad.org. Forms need to be received by 5 p.m. the day of the tournament. If they are not received by 5 p.m., teams can be tiered, get a letter of warning, or not have their test results count at all. As a coach, it is your responsibility to make sure the proctor has the proctoring form, the approved materials, any materials needed for Write It, Do It, and a schedule of events so they know when to expect the students. You may want to make sure your proctor has snacks and a way to get a hold of you if there are any issues. Do not go into the testing room after it begins. Make sure you have provided the proctor with the proctor form and the approved materials list. You can find those forms and approved materials list in one of two places. You can go to the head coach dashboard, go to compliance, and click on documents for coaches. It's the satellite instructions document and it provides the links to the shared drive, which you will have this form pop up and you're going to want to make sure you click on the link underneath paperwork. You can also directly access these forms by going to the short what URLs on your screen or using the QR code. Before the proctor leaves, confirm that they've emailed the proctor form to logistics. If we don't receive it by 5 p.m., the day of the tournament, your team may be tiered, lose points, or their team events may not count at all. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to email Geneva Baker or Kelly Powers for answers. And thank you to all you do to support STEM education through the Science Olympiad.